Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. This weekend has been all about the Cub. And what I've done was I got my second motor, the drive motor, that's the one on the left. I got it Friday or Saturday. And I already had the one on the right. That's just going to be the PTO motor. The one on the right is actually a bigger motor than the drive motor. It's more horsepower and it's a higher duty cycle, which is completely unnecessary. But it has a 1-inch shaft on it. I think I've talked about this before, but it has a 1-inch shaft on it that works really well with this little clutch. So there you go. So I can get this clutch on there, and then I can also get the drive pulley for the hydraulic pump. And I could have just got another one of those and put it over here, but I sort of was running into a space issue. And even with this shorter motor, I was still running into a space issue. So what I've done is I went ahead and cut the frame in half and made a 3-inch plate that's going to go between it. Now the problem with all this is they got this cool little body line on these old Cubs, and I wanted to, of course, preserve that. This is 1/8-inch material here, so I needed to that needed to have this little body line. Let's skip to work right now and show you what I went through to come up with that. Well, this has been quite an ordeal. I think I've been here at work for maybe, I don't know, 3 hours at least. And I think I've got it made. And looking at it through the camera, that looks awful weird, but it's actually okay. It's just there's some coloration on the metal that makes it look overbent. But I went through some stuff. Got the old oxyacetylene torch out and just heating things and bending things and trying to come up with ideas on how to do this. Use the vise. We got a box brake over there, and lots of hammering, lots of heating. I didn't burn myself, and I didn't cut myself with a blade. I didn't cut myself with an angle grinder, and I even used a hydraulic press we got in the machine shop to actually get this curve right here. That's what was the troubling part, was like I could use the brake, but it made it really, really sharp. And I took a piece of this 1/4 inch and rounded the edge off of it, and sort of tried to do that with the brake, but it didn't really work. So ultimately I ended up using that rounded over piece of 1/4 and had it clamped up in the vise, heated up the bottom of it where the bend needs to be, and then just slowly formed it over, checking to make sure I wasn't overbending it or underbending it, and heating it and whacking it with a hammer accordingly. And then this back brake was actually just as difficult as this first one, because you don't have really a way to get in there. This is the when I thought I could just heat it here and then bend it back, but then you end up just, doing that. So that didn't work. So I ended up having to use the press to get that, I made a little press brake fixture. And but there it is, yeah. And in case you're wondering, I'm working on a bandsaw again. Big old bandsaw. This is a 52-inch bandsaw. This one's going to have a automatic push guide on it. Normally, some brave soul stands behind this big old blade here while that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and stands here and goes meow with their knuckles right next to that thing. But this one's got an extension table that's got an automatic feed on it. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing at work. And this is what I did on Sunday at work. Yeah, so that was kind of a thing, huh? And that took a long time, but I've got it pretty close, and it doesn't quite line up. It's off a little bit right there. It's closer on this side, and this part needs to be bent down a little bit. But what I can do is, if this ends up being how I want it, and it looks best I can tell like it is how I want it. I won't know for sure until I get that mule drive, or the mule, what do they call that? Mule pulleys underneath there, and see how that pulley lines up with those pulleys. The grill itself, the grill panel, is going to come back 3 inches. So it's not going to be sitting in these holes anymore. It'll be sitting 3 inches back. I'll cut this out and move it. and there'll be like it's a ledge up here, kind of like what's on my 4x4 Cub. And I do kind of plan on putting a winch in there, maybe. I don't know yet, but we're not quite there yet. For the moment, though, in order to fix this, I think what I'll end up, I can just solidly weld this really good full penetration weld, and then come up here with some pliers and bend that, just physically bend it until it lines up, and then tack it, weld it, and then bend this side and weld it. And then this top probably won't fit, but I can come in and I can just bend it back the other way to make that fit, and it'll get pretty darn close enough. And it was a lot of work for a part that you're not really going to be able to see once this thing's all done, but that's all right. The other thing I'll need to do is lengthen 2 of the arms on that mule drive also, but that's okay. I can do that. But anyway, this is kind of how it's going to look, and I got really, really close with this motor plate, positioning it, and that's actually really, really close. I mean, honestly, could probably send it just like that. I've actually made a little jig. This is a piece of 4-inch round stock that I had from when I was trying to figure out how to put the brush hog on the front of my 4x4 Cub. So this is just kind of leftover, but it's got this hole that's all the way through it, and it's I made that on the lathe, so it's nice and concentric. And then I've got a shaft that fits nicely in there all the way through. And I went ahead and turned this end down to 5/8. 5/8 is what that drive shaft is going to be. And then this is 4 inches. The hole where the motor goes in there is 4.5 inches. So I just got some 1/4 inch all thread and like just tacked it to the side of this thing. And then this now fits very snugly in that opening for the motor. And then I can put this plate back in here without the motor on it. Have this in there, have this sticking out, and then put this coupler that doesn't have any play in it over the top of that, tighten it down, and then have this end on my drive shaft, and then adjust the motor plate so that this, kind of slides really easily. Yeah, it slides really easily between them, so that there's no misalignment or minimal misalignment between them. And that's how I will probably end up doing that. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been up to. The next step for this then is going to be probably get that mule drive back on, get the front axle back underneath of it, and just double check all this stuff. One thing I thought about doing possibly is, well, that's another thing I need to do. I've sent some requests out to folks to help me figure out what the height of what would have been the crankshaft of the engine, what the height of that crankshaft is off of, the bottom of the frame or something, just so that I know how high I need to make this motor so that I can use a factory length pulley belt for the belly mower. So maybe somebody will get back with me on that. I don't know. And yeah, that's probably the next thing. I'll put the front back on it and try and put the mule drive back on as best as I can without having extended it yet, just to see where everything lines up. And what I could end up doing is I could end up dropping this motor quite a long way, extending this out a little bit, and that would just give me more room up on top for batteries. But I think the batteries I'm going to go with, I won't need it. So anyway, all right, that's kind of it for this weekend. Short video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.